Assalamualaikum. Let's continue our lecture with noise exposure regulation 1989. So basically, for noise exposure regulation 1989, we refer to FMA 1967, and we also follow the guideline by DOSH. And basically, this is the part of arrangement of regulation. Okay, part 1 preliminary. Action levels mean equivalent continuous sound level of 85 decibel or daily noise dose equal to 0.5. Ambient noise means the all-encompassing noise associated with a given environment, being usually a composite of sound levels from many sources near and far. A weighted sound level means sound level measured with an instrument which is incorporated with an electrical network having the characteristics specified in the International Electrotechnical Commission IEC publication 179. Continuous noise means noise which has negligibly small fluctuation of sound level within the period of observation. And equivalent continuous sound level means the sound level that would produce a give and daily noise dose if an employee were exposed to the sound level continuously over an 8-hour workday. Okay, maksudnya dekat part 1 preliminary ni dia bagi all the definition for what does it mean by action level, what does it mean by ambient noise, a weighted sound level, continuous noise, equivalent continuous sound level. So yang ni semua adalah dia punya definisi. Okay, intermittent noise means a sound level which suddenly drops to the ambient level several times during the period of observation, and the time during which the level remains at a constant value different from that of the ambient level, being of the order of 1 second or more. Noise dosimeter means an instrument that integrates a function of sound pressure over a period of time in such a manner that it directly indicates a daily noise dose. Noise level means sound level. Sound level meter means an instrument for measurement of sound level. Sound level means 10 times the common logarithm of the ratio of the square of the measured A weighted sound pressure to the square of the standard reference pressure of 20 micropascal. And application apply all factories in which persons are employed in any occupation involving exposure to excessive noise level in the workplace. So untuk FMA yang berkaitan dengan noise exposure ni, dia banyak diaplikasikan terhadap semua sektor pekerjaan yang melibatkan pendedahan yang keterlaluan terhadap bunyi yang keterlaluan di tempat kerja. Obligation of occupier and employee. It is the duty of every occupier to comply with this regulation. Every employee shall cooperate with the occupier by wearing a noise dosimeter during employee exposure monitoring, and wear a make full and proper use of the hearing protection device provided for his use. Attend for and undergo audiometric testing or any medical examination or test arranged by the occupier. Attend employee information and training programs conducted by the occupier. And the permissible exposure limit is around 90 dBA for 8-hour exposure. Limit are listed in the first schedule. Applicable changing rate 5 decibel, 5 dB, each additional 5 dB half a dose. Does not exceed the maximum limit of 115 dBA at any time. Does not exceed 140 dB impulsive noise at peak level. And does dose For action level is 0.5. And for the initial employee exposure monitoring, sampling of workers suspected of high exposure within 6 months and limited to one or more representative employee or employees from a particular group of employees performing the same workplace or work who the occupier reasonable belief is or are exposed to noise level representative of the group of employee. And for positive initial employee exposure monitoring, frequency the initial monitoring is more than or same just like action level and depends on the level of exposure, which is every 6 months. And for negative initial employee exposure monitoring, no employee is exposed to noise level at same or more than action level, so need not determine noise exposure levels for every employee. Whenever there has been a production, process, equipment control measure or personal change in the factory, the occupier shall conduct additional monitoring within 6 months. And exposure monitoring results should be notified to the employee within 2 weeks. And for engineering and administrative control, engineering control as far as is reasonable, practicable, administrative control or both of the above. And in general part, hearing protection device provided shall correctly fit the employee, be compatible with the job requirement of the employee and not prejudice the health of employee. And the hearing protection device or attenuation, a hearing protection device provided shall attenuate employee exposure to noise level below the limits prescribed in Regulation 5 and 6, and hearing protection devices provided shall attenuate employee exposure to noise level below the action level. And section 20, which is general, an audiometric test shall be conducted by a technician under the supervision of a registered medical practitioner, be preceded by a period of quiet of at least 14 hours, be carried out in a room with background noise level meeting the requirements specified in the second schedule, and be of pure tone air conduction with test frequency including 500, 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000 and 6000 Hz, taken separately for each ear. And for baseline audiogram and occupational and medical history record, a valid baseline audiogram against which subsequent audiogram shall be compared. A record of the medical and occupational history for every employee within 12 months or 6 months from the day the employee commenced work. And after obtaining the baseline audiogram of an employee, repeat the audiometric test on the employee every year for an employee exposed to noise level same or more the limit. Every year for an employee whose baseline audiogram show a hearing impairment or where his annual audiogram show a standard threshold shift. 1 is every 2 years for an employee exposed to noise level at or above the action level but less than the limits. Retest the employee within 3 months from the date of the last audiometric test. And for training part, the employee should provide a training program. Employer should provide a training program for employee, and during the training program, each employee is informed the provision of this regulation, the effects of noise on hearing, and the purpose of hearing protection devices, the advantages, disadvantages, and attenuation of various types of hearing protection devices, and instruction on their selection, fitting, and care, use and care, and the purpose of an audiometric testing and an explanation of the test procedures. And finally, the training program shall be repeated at least once in every 2 years. And for the record keeping, for the exposure monitoring record, establish and maintain an accurate record of all exposure monitoring which include the name of the employee and the daily noise dose, the location, date and time of measurement and the noise level obtained, the type, model and date of calibration of the noise measuring equipment, and exposure monitoring record maintained for as long as the employee is employed. And for section 20, audiometric test record, keep an accurate record of all employee audiogram which include the name and job location of the employee, the date of the audiogram, the name of the person conducting the test, the model, make and serial number of the audiometric testing equipment, the date of the last calibration of the audiometric testing equipment, and audiometric test record shall be retained for 5 years. And for miscellaneous, for penalty, upon conviction, fine not exceeding 1,000.